I would just like to review what I've said before, some points about the 9/11 Commission. Again, it's an exercise in begging the question. It doesn't answer any of the points that had to be proved. The members had conflicts of interest. The Commission refused to use its subpoena power to force the Bush White House and other federal agencies to disgorge documents, with the exception of the FAA, NORAD, and one or two others. The most dedicated member of the Commission was ousted, and it was all based on what Philip Zelikow said later to the Washington Post in the last couple of weeks, that this Commission deliberately ignored all objections, did not seek to answer any objections, because those, of course, were conspiracy theories. The Commission is therefore the codification of the 9/11 myth, which comes down to 19 hijackers, the pilots Atta, Sheehy, Jarrah, Hani Hanjour. Ramzi bin al-Shib is the rear echelon, the logistical and supply officer. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed as the mastermind. Osama bin Laden and his sidekick Zawahiri are alleged to be the authors. And it's all based on an organization called Al-Qaeda. And naturally, for all of this, there is no proof. There's hearsay evidence, there are assertions, but there is no proof. And of course, this has been made to stick by years now of propaganda, the demagogy of terror, the stock in trade of the current regime. And in particular, some of these figures have been presented in an exercise of demonization similar to the one that we've just seen. I would also point to Richard Clarke. I have to be at pains to debunk Richard Clarke because he has successfully duped many critics of the official version. Remember, Richard Clarke is the main architect of the myth. On the evening of September 11th, just as World Trade Center 7 was collapsing after 5:20 p.m., Clarke convened a high-level interagency meeting in the Situation Room. Present by video link were Secretary Armitage of the State Department, General Myers of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and other important officials. Clarke's opening statement was the following: "Okay, we all know this was Al-Qaeda. FBI and CIA will develop the case and see if I'm right. We want the truth, but in the meantime, let's go on the assumption that it's Al-Qaeda. What's next?" Well, he was leaking that to CNN and all of the networks all during the day, and that is the origin of the attribution. We're asked to believe that George Bush kept a diary, and that before he went to bed that night, he wrote in his diary, "The Pearl Harbor of the 21st century took place today. We think it's Osama bin Laden." Now, I'm trying to argue a conceptual framework for all of the evidence that's being presented, that we have to start from the hypothesis that only a rogue network inside the US federal government could have carried this out. I've already given this quote from Senator Inouye. I won't repeat it, but he's talking about a secret government that has all of the faculties and all of the abilities of the visible government, and it's actually embedded inside the husk or framework of the legal government. We therefore have to think about a network that includes top officials of the White House, of the executive departments, of the military, and of the intelligence agencies. These people are not loyal to the Constitution or to any form of legality. They are loyal to the imperatives of a private network with, I would argue, a privatized command center. I would say that it's most likely that the coordination of all of this did not take place from within any government agency, but rather from inside a private military firm, a public relations firm of the type that we've just heard about, or some other privatized location. This all takes place under Executive Order 12333, which was promulgated by the Reagan administration in the early 1980s, the purpose of that being to privatize most intelligence functions. We also cannot speak of the CIA or the Department of Defense because the rogue network is transversal. It includes top officials of all of them. It includes some and excludes many, many others. My argument is that this is synthetic terrorism. Synthetic in two ways. One is that it's artificial. It's not a sociological phenomenon. It does not grow directly out of the misery and problems of the world. It capitalizes on those, but it does so through the intervention of intelligence agencies. The role of the secret intelligence agency in terrorism is absolutely essential, and if we don't look for this, we simply become the playthings of the puppet masters. My experience, and this is what I also would argue as the basis for understanding what's going on today, the NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, spheres of influence terrorism in Central Europe, and I mean by this the Italian Red Brigades and the Baader-Meinhof Group. And these organizations, like many other terrorist operations of recent years, include patsies, they include moles, they include expert professionals, plus a command center, all operating within the framework of the controlled corporate media. And this is a kind of a summary. The patsies are people like Osama bin Laden, Atta, the other pilots, the 19. These are the dupes, the useful idiots, the fanatics, the police agents, the double agents, the provocateurs. In short, the Lee Harvey Oswalds of these terrorist activities. They are people who probably do have criminal intent. That's not the problem. The problem is, do they have the physical ability to bring about the observed effects? Did Lee Harvey Oswald have the ability to shoot the requisite number of shots with the requisite accuracy? And I think the answer to that is no. Could those four have piloted the aircraft? Again, the answer is necessarily no. Let's direct our attention to the moles. The moles are the members of the private network that infest the federal government. The moles have any number of tasks, but they're high government officials. The first thing they have to do is to protect the patsies. They've got to protect non-witting or honest or loyal police or intelligence officials from rolling up the patsy networks. The patsies are indispensable, not because they are going to carry out the operation, but because they have to be there to be scapegoated. Remember that the ethnic or religious or national background of the patsies is the key to the targeting that's going to go on later. Up until the time that these events take place, therefore, the moles have got to prevent the patsies from being arrested. However, as soon as the events have taken place, the moles go into action and make sure that the patsies are all rounded up, taken into custody, demonized, and scapegoated for what has happened. In the background, the part of this that you never ever hear about are the professional killers, the expert professionals, the technicians of death. These are people who do have the physical and technical ability to produce the effects that are observed. They are not fanatics, they are not ideologues, they're often acting for money. Their desire is to remain completely anonymous and never to be heard from. They bring it about. These are the intelligence old boys. In the 1990s, they were called the asteroids. These are the people who can make it happen. They march to the drumbeat of a command center that exists outside of the chart that I've put up on the screen. There's got to be some point of coordination, again, probably in a privatized office of some kind. And all of this has to take place within the world of the controlled corporate media, because it's only if you have the propaganda going out that defines the world according to the leaks coming from the moles and such people that you can get people to believe it. So it requires a propaganda orchestration of a very, very high level. Now, I've been asked to say a few words about neocons, because one of the theses is that the neocons, the faction that dominates the current Bush administration, has a proclivity to support terrorism, to approve it, to carry it out. They accuse various world religions of supporting terrorism, but it's actually the neocon doctrine on its own that includes endorsements of terrorism. This is Leo Strauss. I put he's the neocon pope. He is the ideological leader of the faction around Wolfowitz, Feith, Pearl, Luty, Woolsey, and many others.